Good evening. It is February 11th, 2021, and I'm going to call the East Gloucester Veterans Memorial School Building Committee meeting to order. And I will, Chris, if we could get a roll call vote of
Yes.
attendance.
Jonathan Pope,
I hear.
Richard Sapphire,
Present.
thank you. Greg Catamartori, Donna Compton,
Here.
thank you. Kathy Clancy,
Here.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yep.
thank you. Gary Frisch, okay, Gary's not here. Matt Fusco,
Present.
thank you. Grant Harris,
Here.
thank you. Joe Lucido, okay, not present. Ben Lummis,
Present.
thank you. Amy Pasquarello,
Here.
thank you. Adam Roselle. Adam, not here. Jameson Manning. Okay, not here. Ryan Marks. And Katie Eunice.
I'm here.
Thank you.
And,
All
and
set.
Gary has arrived.
Oh.
Chris, Gary.
Gary Frisch.
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect.
All right. So the first order of business is the approval of minutes, and we have they were sent out, the minutes from January 14th, 2021. And do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, are there any corrections or omissions? Okay, I can't see everybody, so if you just speak up, it'll work better.
Sorry about that.
And Chris, Jameson has arrived.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jameson. Okay, if there are no corrections or omissions, do we have a roll call vote? Can we have a roll call vote for the approval of the January 14th, 2021 meeting minutes?
Yes. Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
Richard Sapphire,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Donna Compton,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Gary Frisch,
Yes.
thank you. Matt Fusco,
Yes.
thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Lummis,
Yes.
thank you. Amy Pasquarello,
Yes.
thank you. Jameson Manning,
Yes.
thank you. And Katie Eunice,
Yes.
thank you.
It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next order of business is the approval of invoices, and we have three, two from W.T. Rich. We have W.T. Rich pre-construction invoice number 1 for $25,000, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, are there any, is there any discussion? Excuse me.
So, Tom, can you just give the committee sort of just a summary on the time frame on these and
Sure,
sort of what part of it is of the process, that sort of thing?
sure. The $25,000 amount was the pre-con during the SD phase that as soon as W.T. Rich was hired, prior to the submission of the SD package to the MSBA, so they did a cost estimate and whatnot. So they had been approved to do that, but until they had a contract executed, they couldn't invoice. So that's for that period. That was a fixed fee that was stipulated. And then the pre-construction invoice number 2,
Wait, one second.
excuse me.
So just for the general public, pre-con, pre-construction, SD schematic design. So essentially for the pre-construction work during schematic design phase, which was completed a while ago, correct?
Yeah, yes, before July, right,
Great. Okay, super, great. So then next one, yep.
right.
Okay.
And the next, okay,
Yeah,
did you
go
want to
ahead.
vote on that one?
Yeah, we're gonna vote. We have a motion and a second on the floor for
Right.
for invoice number 1 from WT Rich for $25,000. And is there any further discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, Chris?
Yes. Jonathan Pope.
Yes.
Thank you. Richard Sapphire.
Yes.
Thank you. Donna Compton.
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy Clancy.
Yes.
Thank you. John Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you. Gary Frisch.
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Harris.
Yes.
Thank you. Ben Loomis.
Yes.
Thank you. Amy Pasquarello.
Yes.
Thank you. Jameson Manning.
Yes.
Thank you. And Katie Eunice.
Yes.
Thank you. All set.
It passes unanimously, and now we have from WT Rich, a construction invoice number 2 for $38,500, and I so move.
Excuse me, I'd like to make a correction if possible. I think I
Okay.
had a typo. It's $530 instead of 500.
Oh.
So that was
Okay, so
my error. So if we,
We'll correct that. It's $38,530,
correct.
and I so move.
Second.
Okay, would you like to explain that, Tom? Just to give a.
Sure. The pre-construction services after the start of DD is on a monthly basis at a fixed rate according to the agreement at $15,412 per month. And this constitutes 2.5 months worth of service from the middle of November through December and January. So that's how that is worked. So basically it's including, review of documents, getting things ready, doing phasing documents, working through, Jonathan can follow up with any additional work if people have questions, but basically it's them doing their pre-construction work during the design phase, so.
All right. So essentially, they're assisting the design team in
Right.
developing the bid documents.
Right.
Correct.
They're teeing everything up, looking at the early site package work, construction phasing, whatnot.
And Tom, this is where the construction manager at risk approach differs a bit from the design bid build, right?
Correct. Right. So
Thank
we're
you.
getting input from the builder during the design phase, especially relating to, just the logistics phasing and again, maintaining the project within the budget. So the next piece that's important that they'll be doing is a cost estimate during the next month. And so that will be the next big task in front of everyone.
Is there any further discussion on the WT Rich invoice number 2? Okay, seeing none. Chris, could we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Jonathan Pope.
Yes.
Thank you. Richard Sapphire.
Yes.
Thank you. Donna Compton.
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy Clancy.
Yes.
Thank you. John Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you. Gary Frisch.
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Harris.
Yes.
Thank you. Ben Loomis.
Yes.
Thank you. Amy Pasquarello.
Yes.
Thank you. Jameson Manning.
Yes.
Thank you. And Katie Eunice.
Yes.
Thank you. All set.
Okay, once again, it carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to a Dora and Whittier invoice for $687,000
200, excuse me, another.
and
Right, so on the
$687,200.
Right. So those match up with what was submitted in the package to the committee. Yes.
Right. And goes back quite a ways,
Right,
correct? Tom?
correct, yes. So this is half of the design development phase fee that is allocated at this point. So they're billing for 50%, which pretty much, continued to, they continued to do work during prior to the vote and continued on through November, December, and January. So this is through the end of January, with then the completion of the DD phase will end at the end of March. So
Okay, is there any discussion?
Just a quick question back to Tom. Tom, this doesn't include anything that has to do with the swing space, right?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
This is just basic services for the new construction building.
And this, I'm sorry, and this is design development. But
Yes.
are we all squared away with Doran Whittier prior to design development?
Yes, well, this number that was in the DD included the time extension to make them whole during the extended time period as well. So that was rolled into that number.
I'm sure when you say extended time period, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, the original, when you said made whole is the issue is the DD phase initially was we were supposed to be in front of the school bill or the MSBA in February of 2020. And we ended up being in front of the MSBA in August. And then the vote extended into November. So there was an extended period of time that the design team and the OPM continued on with services during that time, knowing good and well, that if the vote didn't pass, that was it. It was our risk and their risk, and so that number is included in there. So
Okay, and then and so I guess what I'm saying is like are we up to date on our invoices at this point in terms of the project with these two partners?
Yeah.
So Ben,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that will get cleaned up on the next invoice, right? There's a couple of just smaller types of things from an accounting perspective. We want to make sure that we get it allocated into the right bucket. So there's a couple little things, but this is the vast majority of it.
Okay, great. Yep, just want to make sure the committee understands that we're getting caught up with the work that's been done and which is appropriate with our partners. Great, thanks. Thank you, Brad, for the clarification.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Chris, could we have a roll call vote?
Yes, I did miss who the motion and second was. Was it Jonathan, Kathy?
I made the motion. I'm not sure who seconded it. I heard him say it, but nobody wants to own up to
Well,
this.
I'll second if
Okay, I'll write you in there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
you
And
can always
Chris, I am
listen to the
now
video.
present. Chris, I just want to let you know that I'm present.
Okay. Here we go. I'll put you in there. I'll hit roll call attendance. Jonathan Pope.
Oh, this is roll for the invoice.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For the invoice.
Yes. Doran Whittier invoice number 21. Yes.
Thank you. Sapphire.
Yes.
Donna Compton.
Yes.
Greg Kettemer-Torrey.
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy Clancy.
Yes.
Thank you. John Dunn.
Yes.
You. Gary Frisch.
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Harris.
Yes.
Thank you. Ben Lummis.
Yes.
Thank you. Amy Pasquarello.
Yes.
Thank you. Jameson Manning.
Yes.
Thank you. And Katie Eunice.
Yes.
Thank you. All set.
Okay. Did we get Greg in there?
Yep, I added him.
All right. The vote passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to a report on the swing space. Who is it? Who's going to take the lead on this?
Sean and Ben. So
Okay.
I got this information. So basically, there you go.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so just to, kind of bring people up to date, we put an RFP out on the street in November. Responses came back in December. Proposals were submitted by St. Anne's or the Archdiocese of Boston, and also Pathways for Children. Valuation Committee reviewed the proposals, visited both sites, conducted 3 meetings, and then took a fair amount of input from Doran Whittier, W.T. Rich, as well as CBRE Heary. The Valuation Committee recommended the St. Anne site, in large part because, frankly, even though we were very appreciative of having Pathways submit a proposal, there just was not going to be enough space available in that building to meet the needs of the entire population of the veteran students, staff, and support folks. So that recommendation went to Donna Compton, purchasing agent, who then submitted it to the mayor. The school committee was also notified, and the school committee voted to recommend St. Anne's. We've gone through a number of additional reviews of the building to determine what are responsibilities for improvements for the landlord versus what we need to do to adapt the space to the needs that Matt Fusco has identified along with Ben Lummis. And at this point, there is a meeting set up hopefully for next Thursday to begin negotiations on the lease and those responsibilities for landlord improvements or repairs, which have already been forwarded to them.
Any questions? And once again, I can't really see everybody. So if you have a question, just speak up. Or you can use your raise hand button if you'd like. Okay. Seeing none, let's move on. Tom, you wanted to move up the schedule before?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take out of order. We're going to take the schedule next.
Right. So I don't know. I think this is just pretty much a task list of what's happened this last week. So I don't know, Bill and Michelle, maybe you can kind of walk through a number of the meetings that you've had since the last school building committee meeting on the 14th. So. No, Bill?
Yeah, we've tacked in everything that we knew happened. And we've added some meetings that weren't even on the scope last time. We've added those in. Line 13 meeting, the tentative meeting, that moved to today. We were able to move that up. That we will have another meeting with them and the Doran Whittier consultants. I believe the MIPA submission went in today, but I carried the 16th because that's the last day it could go in. But I believe, and Michelle can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I put that one in today.
Right. And you've had meetings with public officials. I know there was another meeting, I guess, with the public safety as well. So those meetings are ongoing too with the design team.
Yeah, so since the last time we met, the design team has met, with our own consultants in-house. We had a hardware and security meeting that included the school administration, fire, police, facilities, the district technology, and our own hardware specialists, as well as the OPM, to walk through every single door on the exterior of the building to talk about both security and the hardware that goes into each one of those doors for safety. We've had our initial code review, which included both the building inspector and the electrical inspector, as well as our own in-house team. We've met with the commissioning agent, which happened earlier today. And then going forward, we have our traffic presentation, I believe it's next week on the 18th. And then we are issuing pricing sets out to the cost estimators on the 26th and reconciliation on the 17th, all in preparation for our submittal to the MSBA on the 31st of March.
And I think the only other item that we didn't put on here, but is on the next item on the key piece is the early site package. So, you know, everything's heading toward the MSBA DD submission in March 30th, and then the early site package release date of the 31st. And then there are a number they're going to be scheduling some presentations as we move forward. So in the month of March. I don't know, Jonathan or Ben, if there are any updates on any of those or whether they're just working on those dates at this point.
There's no updates. We'll
Okay.
schedule those.
Okay.
Yeah, the two dates for school committee meetings in March are March 10th, I believe, and March 24th.
Mhm.
So it'll be, you know, one of those two. Would we expect to have school committee go before city council, Jonathan? That would be expected, right?
Yes, so it would make sense that we would, because the city council meets the Tuesday before us. So it would be the first we would present at the school committee on the 10th, and the city council on the 23rd would be the tentative, but I haven't talked to the council president yet about scheduling that.
Okay. Great, but we'll aim for March 10th for school committee. And then, yeah, that's great. Jonathan's very helpful. Are there other boards or commissions, or are there other that we need to present to in the next couple of months? Even if we don't know when, and or Michelle, are you meeting with other senior city departments? We plan on meeting up with other city departments that are there a need to meet with any other city departments or city agencies in the upcoming, in the next month or so, or before DD, before the.
Not officially before the DD submission, but we are very proactive about trying to meet with all the departments fairly regularly throughout the submission. The fire, police, and building department all have our plans at this moment, and we're looking back and forth and having ongoing conversations with them about different things as they go through each of these plans. We have a permitting schedule that has been issued, but we don't really get into a lot of the permitting until we're through the 60%.
So through March, right?
That's correct. After March.
After March. After March, we'll get into more of the permitting. Okay, great. That's very
I
helpful.
guess just one other thing to add to that, as a result of kind of working through some of this with, Bill Sanborn and the police and fire folks, is that just like at West Parish, we're going to go forward with a third-party review of all the documents. So it's an extra set of eyes on those. And we're going to we're going to go and send those out probably in conjunction with the 60% submittal. So, we kind of view that as a great thing. Nobody's perfect. So we'll have another set of eyes going over thing, and whatever they're able to pick up, we'll have a discussion about it. And if we all agree that that needs to get into the documents, then we'll take care of it.
Great. Thank you, Brad.
Great. Okay. So anything else any questions on the schedule?
Okay.
All right, then we can move on to the design.
So I will stop sharing and allow Michelle to share.
Give me a second here while I start this up. Did you give me sharing capacity here?
Yes, you should be able to, Michelle.
Sorry, I don't. There we go. All right, can you all see the school?
No.
Okay, let's go back. I know we always have these difficulties with this one. I'm sorry for that. How about now?
It's a big file, so it might take a little time to catch up to everybody.
Anybody see a school?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Or it could be a technical difficulty.
It could be user error.
Just trying to build anticipation.
Sorry.
There we go. I think.
There we go.
Coming.
Okay, what do you see now?
Your desktop.
Your
Okay,
daughter.
My
Your
daughter.
daughter, you, a whole bunch of files.
Okay, hang on one second.
Thought my desktop was bad.
All right, do you see a school now?
Yep, we got a
Yes.
school.
Two.
Okay, there we go. And now how do I, okay. Okay, since we've already gone through this schedule here, it is in the PowerPoint, and when I submit this to be attached, you'll see this, but we just went through all of the work that we've done to date and the target dates that we have coming up. So moving into the design dates, updates, as I presented in our last presentation, we showed you the difference between a schematic design and what a DD set looks like. And this is your building. This is where we are in design development. The building probably doesn't look all that different to many of you, just because the spaces haven't moved around. But what happens in this phase is there's a lot more coordination going on. So what you see here is we're beginning to coordinate the structural system, the HVAC system, the plumbing, where shafts go, really nailing down a lot of different spaces. One of the things that we're updating currently is the elevator. We received a message saying that this elevator needs to be a little bit larger than what is required by code for the direction of the Gloucester Fire Department. So we're working on updating that as well. And we have a few other changes, but overall the building remains, the footprint of the building and the space locations remain very much the way that you have seen them all along. That's the first floor. Your second floor, again, very similar. There are no overall overarching changes to this plan, just coordination. And your third floor. So the things that have changed is as we've made our way through the interior design, this is where we were the last time we presented to you. We had an academic corridor. You can see the ceiling here, the colors that we're choosing. We've been going through a lot of different color iterations. I'm only showing the yellow at this point in time, but we do have the full range of color. Every academic area will get its own color coordination. You see where we were with the extended learning, where the ceiling, the wood ceiling, the extent of that, and this seating area here, and then the gymnasium, which you won't see a lot of drastic change in as I move forward. The academic wing, we've added a color to the floor, but simplified the ceiling and reduced a lot of the color. One of the things that came back to us was that the heavy color might feel dark within these spaces. You can see the banding here. There'll be a touch of color going through each class. So kindergarten will have a shade of yellow, first grade will have a darker shade of yellow, second grade will have a a color code of their own. Third grade will have a color codes, and on it will show up both in the what I call the gateway to that academic area, as well as in the flooring area. In the extended learning, what we've done is we've pulled the wave that was embedded back beyond the extended learning and the wood ceiling. We've pulled that out so that it's more identifiable from the corridor. What you're going to see as you're going down the corridor is this change to the wood ceiling, and then we reduced the extent of the wood and pulled out that color of the wave. We've changed the lightings to match what's happening in the academic wing. So what you see going down the corridor, you'll also see in the extended learning. Added that color to the floor. And then we've revised this wooden seat here. We've simplified a lot of that. It was a little bit overwhelming, and what we've done is made it more simple and more user, so that everything is on that same level. You don't have the two-tier seating in this area. And in the gymnasium, again, you don't see a lot of change here, but we've talked about the pattern on the wall, the different color of the mats, and then adding some color within our acoustical panels. So we have to add some acoustical panels to the wall, so we've added the color so that it pops off the wall just a bit. Other than that, there really isn't a lot of change within the gymnasium from the last time you had seen it. We are playing a little bit with the color on the tile walls and that pattern as we move forward with our interior design group. For the exterior group, we've talked a lot about the site amenities. We've talked about some decorative gating. So the first gates that you see out in front of the site will have the decorative, not exactly this, but decorative in the form that it will have some unique pattern to it. The simplified gates, which are just barrier gates, will be in the back. We've looked at the material for the retaining wall. This is located just about where the existing bleachers are, and that material will be a gray stone looking material. That wall is only about 4 feet high and has a fence on top of it. We've looked at the seating out front as being granite benches, and this forms some of this area out front. So there'll be a lot of granite benching and places for kids and teachers to sit if they're choosing to sit and gather out front. We've looked at the garden growers box. We've actually doubled up the size of, or the number of garden grower boxes. So previously we only had a few out in front. Now we've added an entire row to the back, or actually 2 rows. I forgot to bring this one to the circle. So this is for the upper grades. They'll have a whole garden growing section in the back, and the younger grades will have theirs out front adjacent to their play area. And we're looking at the different turfs that are available to us for the turf field. The exterior of the building, we've gone through a lot of iterations. We've made the metal panels very busy, and then not busy at all. And this is about where we're landing. So we've come to sort of the middle ground where we've added 4 colors now. So we have the dark blue, a light blue, a tan, and then the white background. You can still see sort of the motif of the wave that goes up and comes down, but it's a little bit more pixelated and not as many or as strong as it was in the previous iterations. The brick, we have chosen a waterstruck brick, which is an older looking brick, and it's very similar to the brick that is currently on the Veterans School. So it has that older look to it, even though it's brand new. And then we have a granite base that goes around the administration area, as well as the base behind this middle section of the building. That's where we are in our exterior design and our interior designs. And I can stop sharing now.
I think it looks nice.
Any questions, comments?
No, I like where you've come to a lot.
Okay.
Thank you. It's definitely been great committees to work with, and everybody has had a lot of thoughtful input.
Michelle, do we have, sorry, I think you're trying to set up some dates for after the February break. Do we have dates yet for the next meeting?
I don't have a date settled in yet, but it should probably be the week after February break. I think we're very close. So right now, you know, we're really, what we have chosen and what we need to decide on going forward won't really affect our pricing set. So we're just narrowing down the colors. We've chosen all the materials. There are a few landscape items that are outstanding, but other than that, you guys have done a wonderful job at making a lot of really important decisions up to date.
Great. And would it be helpful if I had Stephanie reach out to you to help with scheduling?
That would be great. Thank you. I was going to send out a message after this meeting just to see where people are for the week after vacation.
Okay, I'll have her work with you on that.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else before we move on? Okay, we're going to talk about the emergency response planning. There's two different elements to this. Who is taking the lead on this? Ben?
Yes, for this part I am. Tom, I think, or Tom, whoever's running the slides can go to the next slide, please. Great. So a very important piece of the design and operations of the building is how we're preparing to make sure that we run a school that's safe for our students and our staff. I'll be talking more about the operations component of this, and I think, I'm not sure if someone's talking today more about the design aspects of it. Design aspects being, how emergency vehicles approach and how we make sure doors are secure, entryways and exitways are secure. But that's the design, and I do not know as much about that. But I do know a fair bit about creating our operational plans, what we call school emergency response plans. These are plans that we have for all of our school buildings. They're reviewed and and when necessary revised every year. They're on in the school building, obviously, but also on file with the fire and police, and on file here with me as well. I have all of them right within my arm's reach. The components of any school emergency response plan, this is a number of them, it's not all of them, but they're pretty far ranging. Evacuation of the building, including off-campus evacuation. So all of our school sites have off-campus locations where they evacuate to if the circumstance calls for that. That's sort of beyond the typical fire drill evacuation where you're still on the campus. We all in our emergency response plans, we have about lockdowns, shelter in place, fire and bomb threats, armed intruder and active shooters, medical emergencies. So what to do in all those cases and how to respond to them and how to follow up and make sure folks get to safety or their safety is addressed or their health and we also have things like severe weather, even including earthquakes. And earthquakes are very, very rare in this area, but we are required and expected to have a plan even for what happens in earthquakes. There are probably another 15 or 20 different components of the emergency response plan, but I wanted to sort of give the most notable ones. But this could even be, poisons, animal intruders, that sort of things. It's pretty far-reaching. So you can go to the next slide, please. This is the time frame of when we're going to be creating the school emergency response plan. Obviously, the school isn't built yet. We haven't started construction. We haven't even completed design development yet. So the completion of design development won't happen until fall 2021. So about a year from now is when we really would begin working on with the district and school administrators to meet with construction and design teams to discuss all safety and response elements in school design. We're going through that now as through design development, but we would do that again at that point to make sure that any changes that have happened, but we can actually make a plan that's in alignment with all the safety and response elements in the school design. So we don't really get started on developing the response plan until January 22. That's pretty, and actually that's quite on the early side even, but it'll give us plenty of time. So as you can see, there's the time frame from there. We first work on this internally. And as I said, we have, 5 other examples right now of elementary school emergency response plans. We draft that draft is shared with the fire and police departments for their review and input, especially because it's a new building. We would then take that input in later spring next year and finalize it, and then provide that to the fire and police, or based on their input, I'm sorry. And then ultimately, more than a year later, we would then make sure that the staff is trained on the emergency plans prior to opening the school. They may not be trained on every single component of that. For example, nurses cover a large part of the emergency response plan, medical emergencies and the like, injuries, burns, that sort of thing. But for the staff in general, for lockdowns, evacuations, they'll be trained on that. And we expect that training will be consistent with all the prior training our current staff have already had and do renew from time to time. This is a tentative timeline. Like I said, starting January is quite early. We could start, later than that, and obviously finish well in advance of the time to open the school. But we do want to make sure that design development is completed, so we're operating with what we know will be in the building and the systems within the building. So I think that's all I have
Right.
for that. Any questions from the building committee?
Any questions? Just speak up. Once again, I can't.
I don't see any hands,
Yeah.
Jonathan. All right.
Okay. All right.
And
Want me to take this right now because we're
Sure.
here?
Sure.
So just ongoing communication. So we did launch the new website. It's listed there. It's also available from the homepage of the district website. And I think also the East Gloucester and Betts websites too, you can get there. You can sign up for email updates and submit questions from there. You can review presentations. You can watch the meeting videos, including this meeting video, probably by tomorrow. Also, you can access product archives. Just for folks know, our upcoming building committee meetings are March 11th, 18th, and 25th. Going back to the website for a second, so we will give access to our the group of folks who are helping me with communications. So they'll have access to update the website. We'll probably do that the next time I meet with them, and so we can continue to keep that website up to date and active. I do believe that from our community forum, which we had, I guess we had it since our last building committee meeting, right? So I can give an update on that. I don't remember off the top of my head how many people attended. Maybe Kathy remembers that. But we did put a link to the recording. We had quite a bit of time for questions and answers. At that forum, I want to say there were close to 50 people there, maybe 45 or 50 people.
I think it was about 30.
30, okay, 30, thank you.
I think
30 attendees plus a whole bunch of us from the building committee.
exactly.
And
growing. It'll be growing.
It'll be growing. And answered a bunch of questions from the community. Questions about safety was one of them. So that's part of the reason we presented this tonight, so we can answer some of those questions in more detail about safety plans. And then our next community forum is tentatively on March 18th. That'll focus on construction logistics, safety, noise abatement, the type of things that neighborhood and community members might be interested to know about prior to construction going. And obviously construction won't start till the fall, but wanted to make sure people understood well ahead of time that our team, our project team focuses on those issues early on to make sure that we minimize impact on the community and the surrounding neighborhoods. I think that's all.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Moving on.
I think there's one item that was on the agenda that, because we kind of moved around some of the presentation, had to do with the salvage item list for East Gloucester and Vets. And I know that there was, we just wanted to get an update on the status of that so that the design team can incorporate the right amount of scope in the demolition contract that's going to go out at the end of March. So,
Well, I know Amy and Matt are working on that. I don't know if, at what stage it's at, but if either of them would like to report on the progress they're making.
Can I add in? So we have Amy and Matt's list, and we've sent that out. My understanding was that it needs to be approved by school committee.
Okay,
And so we need their approval to start incorporating what was on that list into the building. And we need an understanding of whether it's being saved for future use in the new building or on the new site, you know, if it's a tree or a rock, or if it is being moved to another location, or, you know, if it's a piece of artwork, if it's just going into storage. We just need that list filled in about what you want to do with it going forward.
okay. So just for the audience, to be clear, what we're talking about here is salvage items. Is there may be a room that's dedicated to a teacher or somebody. That's, you know, that's the sort of thing that we're talking about. There may be items that are of value that we can be reused, like the lights at Mados Field. There are things that they might want to incorporate into the new building, like the cornerstone out of each of the schools, and or some piece of art. So that's just the generally speaking, that's the sort of thing that we're talking about here. So
John,
salvage.
I have the list. Sorry, John, I have the list. Would it be, maybe it might be helpful to show that to the committee?
Sure.
Is that,
I haven't seen it, so.
well, then it might be helpful to show it to the committee then.
So, John, if you could just tell me what the process is, if it's going to school committee for their approval, is that the process?
Well, somebody's saying that it should go to the school committee. I don't believe we ever approved that back at West Parish, although many things got salvaged. I don't think there's any harm in bringing it into the school committee.
So at West Parish,
Michelle, what we've discussed actually is come to the school committee so they could see it and then provide input. There's no expectation they need to vote on it.
okay,
But
so,
we
you know, again,
don't want to go forward with this without them at least seeing it. We may also want to have Matt and Amy share it with their school community, because other folks, parents or staff may think of some things that haven't been thought of yet.
right. And you don't want to miss anyone, because there may be people who, you know, I assume Amy and Matt have a pretty good idea of what's in their buildings, but it's one of those things like you just want to be sure nothing gets missed, because that's, you know, we've seen this in other communities where there may not be a plaque on a tree, but somebody remembers that tree was planted in memory of somebody. So I guess it's a collective request to the community to be sure that we're not missing something.
Yep.
And I think that's the important piece.
So let me suggest a path forward here. So if Amy and Matt could share this with their community in the way they know best, okay, to ask for other ideas. We've been talking a little bit about the Building and Finance Subcommittee agenda for Monday, the 22nd. The Building and Finance would be appropriate for them to consider it. If necessary, at that point, they can decide to share it with the full school committee. And at that point, we would have, you know, by the end of that week or so, or very beginning of March, we'd have all the possible ideas, and then we can go from there.
just being cautious of our schedule and the
Yeah.
fact that we're issuing a demo package at the end of March. The sooner the better. We were hoping that this could get into our pricing set, which I think would mean that we would need all of this information by the 22nd of February. Of course, if we just have a good chunk of it, that would be great. We just want to make sure that we've allotted both time and money and thoughtfulness to salvaging whatever it is that's important to the community.
Yep. Great. So I know Amy and Matt have been thoughtful about this so far. Let me show it to the committee here so folks know what's already there. And obviously there's some folks on our committee, thankfully, that are from the East Gloucester veterans community, and they may, folks can chime in right now and help us think it through. Do you see a list? Great.
Yep.
I'm just going to increase this, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so people can see it. Matt, if you're able to provide any short narrative on these things, and if you can explain about artist William Fusco, that might be helpful too.
So, yeah, I'm not trying to get my dad any extra business, but he did a painting of the Joan of Arc statue. I don't know if you want to slide it over, Ben, so they could see the picture, but he's donated that to the school. My father's an artist. He's been painting on the North Shore for many, many years. So he gave that to us. I was hoping it could go over for sentimental reasons, and it does fit the theme. The next one is the trowel that I think was used to set the cornerstone. So it's a commemorative trowel that's been hanging outside my office and has been there since the school was built. Of course, there is the cornerstone, 1956. And we do have this large wooden sign, Veterans Memorial School. I was being like extra cautious to try and include everything. So it is made of wood. It's got a kind of a rustic feel to it.
You're being generous.
For lack of a better term. Then, of course, the school sign. It is a hand-carved wooden sign. It's really a beautiful, high-quality sign, the Veterans Memorial School, and it has our logo on it. The next one is the tree, and I believe that's the 9/11 that was planted to commemorate the 9/11 tragedy. So that's right out there. And let's see what else. And we also have the buddy bench, which was donated to us as well and installed over the last 6 years, I believe it was put in.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Anybody have any other ideas to throw Matt's way, just from the veteran?
I want everybody to know that the memorial stone that is dedicated to Matos, that is remaining exactly where it is. So you're not seeing that on this list because we have no intention of relocating that as part of this project.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. All right, we can also move on then to Amy to.
So if you ever go in the front lobby of East Gloucester, you see a beautiful painting of the schoolhouse that has a lot of sentimental value. I'm not sure if we would be able to take it because it is painted on the wall, but either have it recreated or a professional style picture or something, some way to honor that in the new building I've requested. Our auditorium is a beloved auditorium. I don't know if we could save a few seats and kind of have a little waiting outside the principal's office or something cute about that. Some way to commemorate it. I also don't know if the larger community would want to, I don't know, get them for their house. I don't know if somebody wanted them as a piece of East Gloucester to keep in their home. I'm not sure what we would do with it, but I think they should be salvaged in some way. We also have a cornerstone, so that needs to be salvaged. This tree is also a tree that was planted in honor of 9/11. So whether that is honored still on the property of East Gloucester because it will be a space, or if it's transplanted, that's to be determined. What do we have next? We have our bricks. So some of those bricks are donated and they're engraved. They have people's names on them. That's another question of whether that remains in the open space of where East Gloucester is, or if it's transferred. We could discuss that, but people have donated those and they need to be honored in some capacity. Then these two plaques, the gym and the library are named after someone. The gym, I think, I can't see on this, I think it's to someone that was principal for about 30 years. God bless him.
Glenn R. White.
Yes, 30 years is a long time. But the gym is donated to him. And then the library is donated to Alice Kidder. So I think if somebody names a room after you, we need to continue that in some way. I'm not sure what we would do with that. Also, out where the bricks are outside are 2 benches. They are in poor condition, but they have been donated and named after someone. So I think if they could be cleaned up or replaced or fixed up to stay, if we kept those bricks there or whatever the city decides, give them back to the families, I'm not sure, but they shouldn't be just destroyed.
Great.
So when it comes to the East Gloucester School, it will be important to know, what happens, what should leave that site, things like the tree and that cornerstone, the city may decide that the appropriate place for those is on that site along with the bricks and the benches. Things that are removable from the inside of that building and want to be placed in the new building, we should know that in advance so that we can make sure that we have spaces for those. If you want to rename the library or rename the new gym or whatever that might be, as long as we know in advance, we can actually plan for locations so that those that memorabilia is placed in important places in the new building.
And Michelle, I talked to you about this at the interior, and it came up after I submitted the list to you. We do want to have, I know the PTO is talking about donating a bench in honor of Tamara Moores, who passed away recently.
Yeah.
And the staff is looking to honor her somehow in the new building as well. It's not on the list, but.
Right. And so, if you just put that on the list, we'll be sure that it doesn't get lost. But I think those are important things for us all to begin to discuss. And the way that you want to honor people is important. So if we know in advance, we can make sure that we do that appropriately in the new building.
I didn't see the lights on a list. I assume they're on a list, right, Michelle?
The field lights?
Yes.
So the field lights are actually already in our documents for being removed and stored until they can be placed into a new location. They weren't really part of the salvage part of the building that we asked the principals to. We had already picked that information up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Any questions on that? Or shall we move on? Seeing none. Let's see. Trying to find my agenda. Okay. That's it.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Unless there's anything anybody would like to bring up. We do have 3 meetings coming up in March because of the submittal that is got to be put in the end of March, and there's a number of approvals that we're going to have to do. But other than that, let's. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Chris, could we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Jonathan Pope.
Yes.
Thank you. Richard Sapphire.
Yes.
Thank you. Greg Kettermartori.
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy Clancy.
Yes.
Thank you. Donna Compton.
Yes.
Thank you. John Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you. Gary Frisch.
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Harris. Grant Harris. I'll come back. Ben Lummis.
Yes.
Thank you. Amy Pasquarello.
Yes.
Thank you. Jameson Manning.
Yes.
Thank you. And Katie Eunice.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, it's unanimous. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. And we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.